called the Dawson's family. The case of retaliation on a family that shook a East Baltimore neighborhood to the core. Back in 2002, 36-year-old Angela Dawson, her husband, 43-year-old Carnell Dawson, and their 5 kids, LaWanda, who was 14, Juan, who was 12, Keith and Kevin, twins, both 9, and Carnell Jr., 10 years old, were trying to live a regular life in East Baltimore. The husband and wife had met 12 years prior when Angela moved from the city for a few years to Severn, Maryland. Carnell himself was also relocating from Oklahoma at the same time for a fresh start in life. Carnell moved in with his older sister in Severn. That's where the couple would meet and eventually blend their families. Angela already had 2 daughters and a son, and Carnell himself also had daughters back home. As the couple grew closer, they got married and had more kids, and eventually Angela and Carnell moved the family back to her hometown of Baltimore. They landed in East Baltimore at a row home in the 1400 block of East Preston Street. The neighborhood was a hot spot for crime and definitely drug activity, but the family figured as long as they stayed on their kids and out the way, they would be okay. Angela, the oldest of 4 siblings, was described as being strong-minded, not taking nothing off of nobody, and always stood up for herself. Carnell, with a military background, was the same way. The family would often hang out front, let the kids play, listen to music, and try to coexist with their neighbors. But they soon realized the part of the city they was in had a lot going on, a lot of traffic, basically being right in the middle of the Baltimore drug trade. The corner boys would post up on their steps, hit cells, smoke, and chop it up all day and night. After a few incidents and feeling like her kids wasn't safe, Angela would start calling city police to report drug selling and other crimes on the block. On Preston and Eden though, the block was making money, so it was no slowing down for the dope boys. Eventually, they figured out who was reporting them after a few arrests were made, and Carnell himself threatened to call police after hearing somebody screaming on the corner, red tops and black tops. For out-of-towners, that's a vow used to package product to sell. The corner boys started targeting the family, busting their windows in their house, making threats, to the point the family called Baltimore City Police up to 35 times to report multiple crimes. By this time, they spent most of their time in the house. By 2002, in October, the attacks on the family had gotten more serious, with somebody throwing a bottle at the house, which was later revealed to be a Molotov cocktail, in attempts to set the home on fire. Carnell called BPD on October 3rd and reported he had gotten into an argument with the corner boys for smoking and trapping in front of his house. He stated one man in particular, named Darrell, told him to stop snitching, or if not, they had something for him. Carnell told police that's who he thought threw the cocktail, but no one was hurt at that time. The corner boys kept doing what they was doing, and Angela and Carnell kept trying to get them to stop. But on October 16th, the situation would reach a tragic breaking point. At about 2:20 a.m. in the morning, neighbors reported a fire coming from the Dawson's home and stated they saw the father Carnell pleading for help at the window. Firefighters responded to the home, which was engulfed in flames, in which Carnell had jumped and was laying in the street. As they put the fire out and walked through the house, firefighters couldn't believe what they saw. Angela and her 5 kids had been caught in the blaze and passed away in the fire. Carnell was also unfortunately pronounced gone outside. As the morning hit, the neighborhood was shook by what happened. A whole family had lost their life. People prayed, put teddy bears on the location for the kids, but people from the area knew something wasn't right about the incident. As firefighters and police investigated, they found it wasn't a regular house fire, but intentionally caused. After figuring out it was more than likely a Molotov cocktail, they remembered they had got a call from Carnell days earlier, stating a person named Darrell was targeting him and his family. As the neighborhood grieved, some people who was tired of the crime in the area, just like the Dawsons, reported seeing Darrell lurking right by the family's home before the fire. The 21-year-old man was picked up and taken into custody, and charged with the crime on the family, which was considered retaliation for them snitching. As the family were laid to rest, their other family members filed a lawsuit against the city, stating they urged for people to report crimes under the See Something, Say Something Act, but in return, they don't help the civilians who put their lives on the line to report. The state made a statement. They stated they offered to relocate the family, but they didn't want to leave their home. The lawsuit was eventually dropped. Darrell would get his day in court and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole in 2003. Years after the tragedy, the community and state decided they would try to rebuild the home and make it a safe place for neighborhood kids to come by, hang out, do homework, play games, and just have an outlet. They named it after the family, the Dawson Safe Haven Center, with millions of dollars going into the program. The center had sailed for years, but eventually it just became abandoned with no warning or reason. The Dawson's family story went nationwide and opened people's eyes to the no snitching code in Baltimore. And some people felt the city let the family down. But now, over 20 years later, it's been questions. Has crime in the city gotten better or worse? Some say worse, with thousands of people leaving Baltimore every year and search for a better life. But others are more dedicated to stay and try to keep building the city up.